Everybody, this is Mr. SOLI in Las Vegas. We here at Patriots Only Please podcast are celebrating our 35th episode today. We brought you 35 episodes. We're super excited about what Trump is doing in America, the Trump America First movement. We're super proud to be a part of that. Please like, follow, share, and subscribe today. And we'll keep bringing you conservative content every week.
We appreciate everybody who's been on this journey with us so far. Be sure to join us at patriotsonlyplease.com. Hop on our mailing list. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts or your information. And we will commit to giving you the best conservative information and news as we can find it online. Today, we're going to be talking about Trump's second week in office. It's been a pretty epic week. So be sure to stick around to the end. And again, like, follow, and subscribe. And let's get into it.
Hello, Mr. C.
Hello there, Mr. SOLI. We are back. Hey, today is episode 35. Who thought that would happen? That, 30. By the way, most podcasts don't even make it up to like episode 10. So, I mean, 35 is pretty huge. So, yeah. And there's a ton of stuff going on. I do apologize. Thank you so much for keeping the home fires burning last week while I was on the road. I was traveling. I was on tour. Both Mr. SOLI and I are working entertainers and musicians, and that sometimes requires us to go travel and take our talent on the road. And I was in Florida for a week and got nasty sick and all that stuff. So thank you for keeping it going. But I certainly paid attention to the news cycle, which I'm sure you did. So let's dive into it, brother.
Well, I'll tell you what, you said the word Florida, and in my mind, I was listening to a congressman, a Republican congressman from Florida today. Florida is a state that has already enacted legally, legislatively, school choice for parents. So what Trump is trying to do at the federal level, giving money directly to parents so they can choose where to send their kids. Right now, if you go to public school, your kids are stuck to the zip code where you live. If it's a failing school in that zip code, that's the way it goes. We pay enough in taxes where we could bus these kids to a faith-based school, a magnet school, a private, whatever. So in other words, what Trump's talking about doing is giving tax breaks to the parents or vouchers, whatever they can, but the money will go directly to the parents. The parents can pick the school where the kids want to go. How can that possibly be a political issue? Who doesn't want their children to go to the best school possible? And then the failing schools will fall away. They'll get, they'll close, but maybe they should. I mean, there was a national report card that came out recently, a couple of days ago. I'm sure you're aware of this. American students are failing in math and reading. They're below the 40th percentile. So this needs to change. It's one of Trump's executive orders. He stopped all funding to schools, but that's to support CRT and all this other nonsense. He wants any money that goes to these schools to be start going to the parents to pick the right school. In Florida is a state where school choice is the law of the land, and the parents there could not be happier.
Yeah, and this just kind of echoes the unfortunately, on the left, they'll always find something to complain about, even if it's in their best interest, and something that they have been crying about for years as well, like, school choice and making people healthy and, and not being beholden to corporations and lobbyists and all this stuff and term limits. And it just seems incredible that in Trump's second week, he's already started to tackle some long-standing problems that we can all agree on. And right now, his cabinet is in the process of getting confirmed, hopefully. I mean, the grilling that we saw RFK and Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard take this week, I mean, it's ridiculous. And it's never been more apparent. I'd like to think that people on the left who have been like classical liberals and classical Democrats are looking at this and going, wait a minute, they have a problem with making America healthy. They have a problem with school choice. They have a problem with all this stuff. Do they have a problem with that, or they just have a problem because Orange Man is bad? And RFK hit it on the head. He said, look, you're really just going after this because anything that has to do with Trump and his administration, you're just going to rally against.
It's very true. And back to the school issue just for one quick second. Let's not forget Joe Biden was the president who let the schools remain closed for 2 years, paid all the teachers in the teachers union full pay, And the teachers did not want to go back to class. Remember, after 2 years, the teachers fought the union to go back to teaching students in the classrooms. So students in America under Joe Biden's administration lost 2 years of interacting with their peers, of development. They lost 2 years. That plays a part in this report card being so low as well. So shame on the Democrats for doing that. Shame on the Democrats for being lockstep with the education department and the union that controls that department. I hope Trump gets what he wants and he throws education back to the states. He eliminates the Department of Education so the states can make the right decisions for the parents in those states for their kids.
1,000%. And generally what seems to happen, and this is politics in general, but they take the news, they spin it in a way where the news cycle on their side is, oh, he's taking away these necessary programs, and teachers aren't going to get their funding, and schools aren't going to get their funding. And we look at it and go, we throw more money into the medical industrial complex, into the educational industrial complex, and yet we are the least healthiest and the dumbest nation so far in the world. And maybe we shouldn't give them any more money.
Well, and Jeff, what's so important about what you just said is it's not for lack of money. We spend more money per student than any industrialized country in the world. We spend more on individual Americans' health care than any other industrialized country in the world. But the results are we're sicker and dumber, like you said. Yeah. So it's not working. The definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Trump has come in with a bulldozer to knock all these old obstacles down and pave an America First new way in this country. And of course, there's going to be a whole lot of resistance from entrenched interests, but it has to happen.
Absolutely. And never more was it on display than during the Kennedy hearing, right? I mean, we're talking about a guy who's been a lifelong brand name Democrat for his entire life. I mean, Camelot, the Kennedys, it doesn't get any more iconic. There you go. Nice. I love it. Super coffee. It doesn't get any more iconic, brand name Democrat than the Kennedys over the last 60 plus years. And yet these people are just ganging up on him because, for whatever reason, because he left the fold. He's exposing their corruption. When did this happen?
Well, let's not let our viewers forget, and because you and I will never forget. Let's remind the people watching this podcast now or forever in perpetuity that the same Democrat Party that these senators pledge allegiance to sued RFK Jr. to not be on the ballot against Joe Biden. Sued him to not be on the ballot against Kamala until later in the cycle when they figured it might hurt Trump. But they sued this man. Joe Biden weaponized his DOJ to sue him to not be able to be votable in states. A former Democrat of what, 40 years. This is how despicable the Democrat Party is today. They went after one of their own, and now they've got him staring right back at them saying, I'm with the orange guy to do the right thing for Americans because we're sicker than we've ever been. Give me a break. Yep. I mean, it's so telling to watch these people have so much rage against him when their president is the one that sued RFK, a Democrat at the time, an independent essentially, to not even be able to vote to be electable. They're hypocrites. They speak out of both sides of their mouths. It's hard for me to even take them seriously at this point because everything they say is based on bullshit.
Of course, and special interest. It was epic to watch RFK throw that back in Bernie Sanders' face. Yes. Oh, Bernie Sanders, the angel of the left, the crusader of the common man. Yep. It's like, you and Elizabeth Warren, the other crusader of the common man, you both made millions of dollars in pharmaceutical kickback money. Okay. So now it's true. They might as well just wear like NASCAR drivers. They might as well just wear the patches. And the fact that that's getting exposed, shouldn't that upset the people on the left? Shouldn't that upset the constituency on the left? But it doesn't. That's what's confounding to me.
I don't think the average voter, the average Democrat understands how underhanded the Biden administration was in going after RFK Jr., not letting him, trying to block him from getting on the ballot in states. I mean, this is crazy. I've never seen this before in my lifetime. The Biden administration set some new records of despicability, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And how they handled RFK Jr. in the election was one of them.
Oh, 1,000%. And, it's never been more apparent, especially watching these hearings, these confirmation hearings, that they'll just do and say anything to stay in power. It has nothing to do with helping the people. It has nothing to do with their message. It's all just, let's stay in power. Let's keep the money flowing. Don't change anything. Don't upset the apple cart, because we need all of that tax money to come in so we can line our pockets and do nothing. And as long as we virtue signal and say the right things, then everybody will be happy. And if you get out of line just in the least, then you're a racist and you're a misogynist and you deserve to be canceled. That's what 77, almost 78 million people voted against.
And that's what, and the Democrats have lost. This no longer works. Hating Trump and blaming Trump for everything is not a policy. It's a way to lose. So these Democrats are breathing dead air because Americans have spoken, and the momentum is behind Trump and his cabinet picks, and they know that. And the Democrats know that too. And I think the fact that Tulsi and RFK Jr. are former Democrats is a special sort of thorn in their sides. But get over it. Get over it. You lost. Get over it. You lost. Get over it. You lost.
Yeah, and I mean, Tulsi, RFK, Nicole Shanahan, the whole walk away movement. I mean, doesn't you're so brainwashed on that side that you're just going to dismiss all of that. You're going to dismiss the significance of RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, Nicole Shanahan, all these lifelong Democrats who put their time, money, energy into that, the whole walk away movement. The fact that the conservative side now has more, is never been more diverse from a racial and just diversity background. So all of that means nothing. We're all just delusional Nazis. So all of them are wrong, right? Just want to make sure.
You know what else means nothing to these folks? What RFK Jr. was telling them in this hearings. Americans get 70% of their calories from processed foods. 100 million Americans are pre-diabetic. 40% of American adults are obese, and 20% of American children 18 and under are obese. These are huge systemic problems that should be addressed by the federal government. This is happening in the entire country. For those issues to be swept aside and for politics to be at the forefront shows you what the Democrat Party is really about. Because they should want these changes for their kids, for the future of our country, for the future of our children. They should want our country to be healthier and have safer food. And that's the last thing on their priority list. Shame on them. And it's another reason why the Biden administration lost, why Kamala lost, and why Trump's America First movement will continue to win.
Yeah, thank God. They stand for nothing. They literally stand for nothing except clinging to power. So, I mean, hey, with all that good news, let's kind of dissect. I've been keeping my eye on the confirmation hearings. Obviously, I really enjoyed watching RFK. I really enjoyed watching Tulsi. I really enjoyed watching Cash, just give him kind of the evil cross eyes, stare that he's got. So, I mean, what were some of your takeaways from all that action?
Well, I do think Cash is going to get it confirmed first. I think that the fact that, for example, when they asked him where he was and what he was doing on January 6th, he was working for the deputy director of the FBI. He was right there in the middle of it, helping to make it stop, helping to control it. So that was the right. They realize he really has he has a street cred. He did this gig. He knows exactly what he's talking about. His rhetoric might be hyperbolic sometimes, but they know he has the skills and the experience to do the job. So I think Cash gets through pretty simply. It'll be a rougher road for RFK Jr. and for Tulsi because of their former Democratic status. But I think Cash is going to get confirmed pretty quickly. He knows what he's talking about. They know he knows where the bodies are buried, and he also knows how to do the job. But again, it's been very telling watching him go back at them and say, "You guys know this. You guys know this is broken. This isn't working."
Yeah. Do you think that, because look, I mean, the uphill battle that RFK and Tulsi are going to have is because of exactly like you said, because they were former Democrats, and the left just has this axe to grind. Again, it has nothing to do with the best interest of the country. It's just a personal political axe to grind against those particular people. When it comes to Kash Patel, I think theoretically, it could be even a little deeper than that, because he can expose all of them on the left and the right. There you go. Love it. I'm going to need as much caffeine as I can for the day. But yeah, he's going to be exposing the corruption on all sides. Like you said, he knows where the bodies are buried. So
Yes.
does that bode well for him? Does that work in his favor? I would think that,
Well,
half of
President
those
Trump,
people on the committee don't want him.
with his executive orders, Trump has already taken the security clearance away from every single intel officer that protected that ignored the Hunter Biden laptop for 4 years. They're all gone. General Milley has lost his detail and his security clearance. Trump's making it very clear from the executive office level what he intends to do to clean up the swamp, the DOJ swamp. So I think Kash Patel is a shoe-in to win because they know he can get the job done, and they know that he's a patriot. They know that he's good at this job. They know that. So it'll be very difficult for them to not appoint him, knowing that he can do. Now, looking at what he's done, and looking at his loyalty to the country, I think that he gets in before RFK Jr. and Tulsi, but I think he gets in.
Yeah, and watching Adam Schiff grill him was just the height of just hypocrisy. Come on,
Adam
seriously.
Schiff, who lied to the American people about the Russian collusion thing, and still has a job. How is he not censored permanently? How is he not thrown off the panel or however it works? I mean, I can't believe he's still allowed to speak publicly.
Well, because he's a California Democrat, and if you're a California Democrat, then you're basically got a lifelong position, just like Nancy Pelosi and Gavin Newsom and this Mayor Bass that's still in office in Los Angeles now, especially after everything that's happened. She's still there.
Well, Gavin Newsom is called for a special election. You heard about that?
I have not. He's
called for a special referendum on if they wanted to be governor or not. So that'll be interesting to see. I hope he loses. But yeah, I mean, I just, if I may really quickly talk about the plane crashes. The Potomac plane crash, they're still sifting through that. They're not sure what happened. Just a couple of days, I think yesterday there was a plane that crashed in Philly. Yep. It crashed right by the Roosevelt Mall at rush hour on Friday at 5 p.m. Yep. Jet fuel sprayed out. I mean, there's been a couple of pretty bad, Eric. We want to just send out our thoughts and prayers to all the people who lost their lives, the first responders who are sifting through the ashes and in the water right now, trying to figure out what went wrong. Trump's all over it. He's made it very clear that he's not impressed at all by Pete Buttigieg's stewardship of the FAA in the last administration, and he's going to get it cleaned up pretty quickly. And I know that he will. I think it's refreshing to see the president of the United States come out and talk about this stuff personally and be involved. Joe Biden was invisible for 4 years. He'd make a statement, read it off a teleprompter, and then walk off the stage and not answer questions. It was embarrassing. We have a president who's actively involved in this stuff, and I think that's the reason it's going to move faster in terms of getting resolved.
Sure. And as much as I love to see that, and you love to see that, and people on our side love to see that, of course, on the left, it's like, the first thing he does is blame DEI. And it's like, well, it's kind of, maybe that did have a little bit of something to do with it. You know what I mean? It's like when you put incompetent people in these positions, accidents happen. So,
well, and when you take children out of school for 2 years during COVID, when they were the least likely to get the disease, I mean, young people were healthy. They were the least likely people to get COVID, and they missed 2 years of their educational development. So yeah, it's important to mention this stuff when you're the president of the United States.
Yeah, I think so too. Now, look, we can maybe, debate on style and tone and all of that. I get that. Trump's style is not for everybody. I get it. I happen to like it. You happen to like it, but I can understand where somebody would say, okay, maybe not, tone it down a little bit. I get it. That's a style conversation. That's a fair point to make. But when it comes to just the actions that he's taking and the moves that he's taking to correct a lot of this stuff, look, we voted for the bull in the China shop, and I've said this over and over again on this podcast and out in the world. To the left out there that still thinks that this is left versus right, Democrat versus Republican, it's not. It's America first versus the deep state. Yes. I don't care wherever they may be, whether they're on the left or the right. Call it all out. Fix it all. And if it takes somebody like Trump to make it happen and to move and finally move the needle in the direction that we've all wanted to see with regards to health, education, public safety, all of that, then it shouldn't matter where it's coming from. If Joe Biden would have made any of these moves, as much as I disagreed with his policies, it's in everyone's best interest to want to see our president do well. Because when the president does well, the country does well. If Biden would have enacted some of this stuff, I would have been great. Fantastic. He's finally doing something. But he didn't, because again, all they care about is clinging to power. So to anybody on the left that just that is willing to throw the entire country down the toilet because of your hatred of one person, I would encourage you to maybe reevaluate some of that and turn off MSNBC and turn off this. And they could say, "Oh, turn off Fox News." Trust me, we're getting our information from a lot more places than Fox News. We're digging a lot deeper than just MSNBC. I know it's easy because that's what's in the airport and that's what's just on TV. But if you dig just a little deeper and try to just get out of your own echo chamber, I think that you'll see that there are moves being made that are going to help the entire country, even if you don't like the orange guy.
I think right now is not the time to try to talk to Democrats. Right now is not the time. Right now is not the time to change hearts and minds. They're digging in. They've made their choice. Good for them. They lost miserably. Good for us. And we are going to move forward, both, like you said, like a bull in the China shop, and we're going to make America great again. Whether they want to be a part of it or not, I'm not listening. I've tuned them out at this point. 6 months from now, 8 months from now, when this stuff is enacted into law and the country is moving in the right direction, but we really are still living under Bidenomics. We really are still living under the stuff, for example, the new Scott Bennett was saying that the new director of the Treasury was saying, if we don't get a reconciliation bill to get our economy in order, if Biden's economy was allowed to move forward unchanged, it would raise taxes by $4.5 trillion this year. That's how bad Biden left the economy. So we need to focus on getting our house in order as Republicans, as conservatives, because we've given the mandate by the people. So let's make the first 100 days of Trump's administration Democrat noise free. Just ignore it for right now. Let's get this stuff in line. We can worry about their feelings later, but they have nothing to say of substance. We know that. So I'm ignoring it. I'm tuning it out. And after everything America First is put into place, then we can maybe have a conversation with them about coming on board or getting their reaction to it. But in the meantime, there's not enough time to listen to their nonsense.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. I mean, I only care in so much as it's how it will affect these confirmation hearings, right? I mean, it's like
right.
what the local liberals, on the street have to say. Obviously, they can have their opinions, whatever. It's not going to really matter either way. I just want to make sure that we see Cash, RFK, Tulsi, God willing, you know what I mean? That's really where my concern is. But once they're in, once Trump's got the cabinet set, and it's like, okay, now it's full speed ahead, and it'll be interesting to see how many people add to the walkaway movement. It'll be really interesting to see if some of our colleagues and some of our acquaintances, finally make the ideological shift as well. I would love to see that.
They just might. Can we tick off some of Trump's executive order successes so far?
Please do.
DEI is dead. LGBTQ formerly being taught as a subject, dead. Trump has signed an EO saying that only American flags will fly in American embassies around the world, period. Full stop. No other flags. Good for him. He did a government freeze EO where he's like, let's find out where all the money is going, because no one really knows. Now, caveat to that, very important, and mention this, that does not include money getting sent to individual citizens. Your Social Security checks, unoffended. Your welfare, any kind of benefits that go directly to American citizens, unaffected by the freeze. The freeze is big chunks of money going to other federal institutions where they're like, okay, so are the recipients of your programs actually getting the money? They want to find that out. That's what the freeze is about. It's not going to affect money that goes to the government, to individual citizens who get government assistance. That's not what the freeze is for. The freeze is just to stop big chunks of money going from DC to other federal institutions, NGOs, and they go, did the folks at the end of the line get the money? They go, well, nobody knows. Like, well, we want to know. That part of the whole Doge thing is, let's figure out, is this whole thing actually working? Are the people that need this assistance getting it going through this NGO, this institution? Let's figure that out for a month or two. So I'm excited about that as well, because they're going to find a lot of waste and nonsense in those programs, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. And, and again, the Department of Education, we spend more money and it goes to more people. There were documentaries made about this. There was one years ago called Waiting for Superman. I don't know if you ever saw that movie.
I've seen it.
But yeah, I mean, so it's not like this is a new subject. It's not like this is a conservative talking point. This is something that was very much being trumpeted on the left and the right for decades. So, and that film, you can go back. I think that movie was made in like 2008, 2000, somewhere like that, in the early 2000s. And it's about that very thing. All this money goes to these school districts, and the classrooms are falling apart. The teachers are still having to buy their own supplies. The kids are still dumb and medicated. But there's a whole lot of new BMWs in the parking lot of the administrative buildings. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous.
Trump is the Democrat Party, is the DNC and the Democrat Party's worst nightmare, because he's a lame duck president. He's got 4 years and he's out. He has nothing to lose and only America to make great again. So anything they throw at him, he doesn't care. The legacy media, the fake news, let him talk. Everything's going to bounce off this guy for the next 4 years, and they know it. Just think about this for 1 second, guys. Anyone watching this podcast, I thank you for joining us, by the way, today. It's our 35th episode. We're celebrating that fact. Think about this. If Trump hadn't won the election, the Democrat Party would have him in jail right now, or they'd be trying. This is a weird time in our country's history, because the man who won the election by a landslide was the Democrats' main target for being prosecuted. They wanted to find him and imprison him. They did everything they could to put this guy in prison, and now he's their boss. So of course their minds are warped by this. Of course they're worried about their careers. A lot of folks, you're seeing a lot of folks in DC are getting security clearance, walked out, just saying, hey, you're no longer welcome here. Get out. We're walking right, and they're pushing back, making Twitter posts, whatever. But listen, it's a reckoning, guys. You went after Trump and you lost, and the country wants him. The country wants him, and you didn't. You lost. You lost judicially, and you lost electorally. Trump also won the popular vote, by the way. So enough listening to the noise. We're going to focus on the victories. We're going to make America great again. And I'm super proud to be a part of it. I'm super proud that we got him back in office, because if he had not won, right now, Kamala would be the president. We'd be in another war, and Trump would be probably on his way to prison.
Yeah, absolutely. Which I'm sure is music to the ears of those on the left. But again, give it 6 months. Let's see what happens. Let's see, the country stabilize. Let's see the economy, stable out, and and let's see how many people join the walkaway movement and change their tune.
Well, Jeff, just today, as we're having this conversation this morning, 3 more hostages were released from Hamas in Gaza. One of whom was an American citizen. I mean, that's happening in real time. So Trump's getting the hostages freed. He's going to lower our energy costs. He's going to figure out the war in Ukraine quickly. We're going to get Panama, apparently. Marco Rubio is literally on his flight right now to Panama to negotiate getting that back. The Chinese are very unhappy about that, because they've been running it for a decade. But Trump's going to get that back. It's a very strategic port for. It means a lot to the United States to have access to that. It's a big deal in terms of anyway, it's a big deal to get Panama back.
Yeah, and national security, absolutely. Sure.
Let's not forget too, again, in terms of Trump's victories, and since our last podcast, he's passed the Lake and Riley Act. I can't believe that wasn't already the law of the land. He passed the Lake and Riley Act. CRT's out of the school. Guantanamo Bay. He wants to send 30,000 of the most violent, illegal aliens to Guantanamo Bay to know where they're going to be and make sure they're never going to get out, and get them off the streets in America. And I've actually seen people on the left post things saying, look at this, guys, these are concentration camps. Like, what are you talking about? These are people who are murdering and raping people in our country, and the country from which they came, they've got criminal records. Also, by the way, in terms of illegal immigrants, there are 1 million people, as we're speaking right now, who have deportation orders, who are walking around at Walgreens shopping free, that Biden didn't go after. Tom Homan's going to get every single one of those people out of the country. They've already been ordered to leave, and they're not leaving. So it's time to clean things up. I'm getting kind of animated right now, because I just can't believe that there's any pushback at all about this stuff. But you know what? It's time for America first. Get on board. The Trump train the party train's left the station. So you can virtue signal and complain all you want, but America's spoken very clearly, and Trump's delivering. Promises made, promises kept.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, and that's just week 2. So we'll see what week 3 brings. I mean, it's exciting for us. Yeah, I love seeing it. I can't believe how much he's gotten done in 2 weeks. I mean, he's not going to let these folks rest until his appointees are confirmed and he can move forward with his cabinet. EOs, executive orders, aren't the answer to everything. But
they're temporary solutions until we can get these things through Congress. But the Lake and Riley Act is now the law of the land. If you have a criminal record, you cannot emigrate to the United States, period. I can't believe that wasn't already the law of the land, but now it is. We know, unfortunately, what happened to Lake and Riley and a lot of other young girls in this country, and that should have been enacted under the Biden administration. He blew it off, of course, but I'm so glad that it was one of the most signature new laws that Trump was able to get through Congress. That's not an EO, that's a new law. That's the law of the land now. Lake and Riley Act is a law.
Fantastic. And it just goes to show if you want to get it done, where there's a will, there's a way. I mean, so the fact that all of this has been pushed through just in the last 2 weeks is another indication that the previous administration just had no interest in doing any of it. Just like in California with the fires, we have to wait, 18 days or 3 weeks or however long to do this. No, you can do it now. If you really want to do it, you can do it now. They're more concerned with the bureaucracy and just holding their status and keeping their power than actually getting things done and delivering for their constituents and the people.
What you're saying, Jeff, is they're politicians.
Yeah.
They're politicians first. They're politicians first and Americans second. And we want Americans first, politicians second. And I could just one thing that you said about Trump's personality. Steve Bannon had a great line back in the first term of Trump, when Trump in Trump's first term, and he was a pivotal part of that team. He said, listen, when it comes to Trump, ignore the noise, pay attention to the policies. Ignore the personality, the noise, ignore that, pay attention to what he's actually getting done. And look at what he's getting done already in 2 weeks. Ignore the noise, ignore the personality. Look at what he's able to get done. The world is responding to this guy. Putin will respond to this guy. You know what I mean? Kim Jong-un, China will respond to Trump. They know he means business. We need a president that will get things done. Ignore the noise, ignore the personality, pay attention to the policies. And they're all America First policies. Your life, our lives are going to be better because he's the president for the next 4 years. Thank God.
Yep. So let's get his cabinet confirmed and let them run buck wild. So, hey, man, as always, we do appreciate anybody who's checking us out. Please join our mailing list at patriotsonlyplease.com. That's also where we have kind of an archive of our previous shows. And if you're not into the website thing, then please like, subscribe, and follow at Patriots Only Please at wherever you get your social media feed. Drink super coffee, I guess, is the message for today. So the message is that we are caffeinated conservatives, and we encourage you to be caffeinated conservatives as well. It makes for a better life. I'd say I haven't had coffee today, but I will see now that you bring it up. I mean, I'm going to get right on that. So as always,
Jeff, yes. A cup of Joe, not Joe Biden. Have a cup of Joe, not Joe Biden.
That there could be a t-shirt in there somewhere.
I think there is.
I mean, be on the lookout for new merch, everybody, at patriotsonlyplease.com. Watch this space, because we're gonna take it to the next level here in 2025. So we appreciate everybody who takes some time out of their day. I know there's a million things to watch and do on the internet, and for anybody that actually takes a moment of their time to spend with us, we are deeply grateful for that. So yeah, we will see you on the interwebs. And as always, I'm Jeff C.
Mr. SOLI, keep on trumping.
All right. We will see you on the next one. Bye for now.